Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Wednesday. It's August 21st. It is 2024. We have an 8-game MLB slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined today by the man himself, Dean78965431286. Dean, what's happening, my friend?
What's going on, dude? Yeah, kind of an early slate for me. Of course, the people know this, no surprise. You record this on a Tuesday night. The night before, it's about 10-ish. If you're not watching with us live, if you are watching with us live, what's up, YouTube? Hit that like button, subscribe, join the conversation. But I have a Seattle stack that's still theoretically live, but I already feel like my team's dead. So hated yesterday's slate, hated it. 13 games, it was absolutely miserable. And sometimes, Stevie, you know this, the slates you absolutely hate, like you're still going to fall into something and win it. Sometimes the slates you absolutely love, you get dead last. That's just how that goes. But we'll see. I don't think it's going to be great shakes unless Seattle puts an absolute hurting on Walker Buehler. How about yourself? How are things in your world?
Yeah, a lot of Cole Reagans, a lot of Cardinals. They stunk. Texas, a lot of Texas. Played a lot of Texas in St. Louis. So rough go for me. I'm hoping at least Corey Seager can maybe hit a double his last at bat to get his over 1.5 total bases. That'd be fantastic. But I whiffed. I'm okay with admitting when I whiff, and I whiffed on Tuesday slate. I was telling you pre-podcast, I have one decent team that is a Toronto stack that has Davis Martin going. But I mean, it at best it probably triples up. So it's not even even as a Toronto stack, it was I missed some of the key pieces of the Toronto stack. So it's one of those days.
Just look at the salvage. You didn't have George Springer, which leading off. You banged out a couple homers. But good news, bad news.
Yeah.
Bad news. Corey Seager did not double, and that game is over. So sorry, your bet's not hit.
There you go. Well,
good news. Big Dumper has got a double. Kyle Raleigh. So he's on second with 2 outs for the Mariners. I don't know. Do you have any Big Dumper tonight? I guess it doesn't matter.
No. I played 3 teams. And Seattle didn't make my list today. So it was a weird day. So
they probably shouldn't have. They made mine only because I hated the teams to choose from.
Oh, it was for a 13 game slate. It was just what are we doing? So yeah,
it was all bad.
All right, well let's move over and talk about this Wednesday slate. What's up, YouTube? Like Dean said, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and come hang out with us live here. We record most of the nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. We got 8 games today, and we get started right off the bat. Cleveland at New York. Yankees 8.5 total. Yankees a 162 favorites. We got Cantillo.
Cantillo,
against Cortez. Any interest here in Cantillo?
No. I saw he's the 13th ranked prospect in the Cleveland organization. I was digging into a little bit before the show. Like a lot of these prospects, a lot of the young guys, he's really, really wild. He also did have a fair bit of Ks, so I'll give him that. But, small sample size so far in the majors, 15% strikeouts. Now it's backed up by a swinging strikeout rate that says it should be higher, 11.6%, but also the walks basically confirm the issues in the minors, 10.3%. All small sample stuff. And getting shellacked as far as the homers on 13 innings, 2.77 homers per 9. That's too many. And he's facing the Yankees. And no, I was just giving you a little background on Quintillo, but no is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, fastball, changeup, curveball guy, lefty. This team, I mean, there's some strikeouts in this lineup. More now with some of the injuries they've had. But, I mean, overall, it's just not a guy that I like. I mean, we just really haven't seen him. It translates. He is not this flamethrower lefty, averages around 92 miles an hour. And his stuff is good, but it's not great. So first pitch strikes, always a huge thing for me in prospects. He's at 46%. Average in Major League Baseball is 61%. So, I mean, just really struggling to throw strikes. Like you said, command is a huge problem. If you get behind on the Yankees, they're going to punish you, especially in Yankee Stadium. So I'm with you. No interest. I don't really have any.
I just saw the price. I didn't mean to cut you off. I saw the price. And if you want to tell yourself a story, he's 5'3" and he's a live arm. So again, I don't know how desperate we are for salary this early. Obviously we're 20 hours out from first pitch, but it's hard. We don't usually get a quote unquote live arm for 5K very often on DK. So I'm not walking it back. I'm just going to keep an eye on it if I'm desperate for salary, but probably no.
Cortez on the other side, tough matchup. Cleveland, a very, very low strikeout team, even against left-handed pitching. They're around like 21% on the season. Depending on who's in there, they'll get some of the lefties out there. The lineup will probably be closer to like 19%. I think this is an easy stay away spot for me on Cortez. Absolutely love what he did last time out. We all played him. It was the White Sox. This is a much different spot here going up against Cleveland.
Yeah, do not like picking on Cleveland. I did pull up like Cleveland stats versus lefties. Not only did I not strike out, you said it right in the head. 19%, the active roster, 19% striking out, and not just that, but a 120 WRC plus, which is top 5 in baseball. Don't really want to mess with it. Top 5 as far as offense too when it comes to ISO. It's a no for me. I would prefer to play the Cleveland side if I had to. One or the other.
Yeah, let's talk bats here. Let's talk about those Cleveland bats. Obviously, Jose Ramirez is up towards the top of the list for me today. And I don't even necessarily think that you have to one-off him today. I think there's actually going to be some pieces around him. Like I always feel like I have to one-off him, but you're going to have like Noel here, who has a lot of power at 3,500 in Yankee Stadium, which is great. And then Fry at 3,800. So Lane Thomas should be in the lineup as well. I think you could build a nice little Cleveland 3-man stack today.
Yeah, J-Ram obviously is awesome, but he's expensive. The left-on-left stuff with Naylor. Naylor's probably like a Justin Stacks guy. You love Yankee Stadium for lefty power, but Cortez, really, really good against lefties, more vulnerable against righties. The splits are pretty dramatic. A 205 ISO versus righties, a 94 ISO versus lefties, a 258 Woba. Really, really good left on left. Same deal with Quan. And Quan's also, I know he's had a little bit of power this year, but still, a guy that is better for stacks. So yeah, I like Noel as a kind of a cheap power guy. I assume he's cheap. I don't have his price pulled up in front of me. He's got to be like 3-ish, 4-ish. Noel, you mentioned him. 3.5. There you go.
3.5,
yeah. But yeah, I think J-Ram, like you said, you don't necessarily have to one-off him, but I love him as a one-off. If I'm stacking, then all of a sudden I bring in Naylor. 2-0 Mariners, by the way. Let's go Seattle.
Going to the other side, the Yankee side of this game. Again, we got a control issue pitcher that has struggled so far. He's young. We have no idea what it's going to be like in 2 years for him, but right now he's struggling to throw strikes. Another team that I like to stack. I like to stack the Yankees anyway. And then I like it even more when you get a guy that struggles with command against the Yankees because they're patient and they'll start loading the bases up and start scoring runs in bunches.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, and it's hard to tell this far out how popular New York's going to be. I think they're going to be one of the more popular teams in the slate. Probably not the most popular. We'll get to that soon enough. But
Johnny Cueto is pitching today.
Yes, yeah. I did some Johnny Cueto research. I'll save it. Save it.
But I just wanted to point out that Johnny Cueto is pitching today.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, wait a second. This can't be right.
I didn't think it was real either. I was like, does he have a kid or something? Is it Johnny Cueto Jr.? And I was like, all right. We'll get there.
We'll talk about that game soon enough. So, yeah, I think I guess I didn't discover anything. Like, it's not a hidden jam. Like, maybe we should pick on Johnny Cueto. He's going to be a popular pick on. Yeah, so look, we're 5+ months into the season, Stevie. I'm not telling the listeners anything new that, hey, Aaron Judge really good at baseball. Soto, same deal. Stanton. So, the Yankees are spectacular. It's a matter of lineup construction. It's a matter of salary and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, love the Yankees. I can't tell you exactly where I'm at as far as if I'm going to be over or under, but the interest is justified.
Well, the thing is, too, Oswaldo Perez is 3K. He's good against left-handed pitching from the small sample size that we have of him. And then Trevino is good. So, you get some cheap pieces with, Torres, and then you can get Judge, Soto, Judge Stanton, however you want to kind of build out your stack. But you're going to be able to get 2 Yankee stack, studs, and get 3 cheaper bats and still get pitching that you want on this slate. So I think the Yankees are going to be popular today because of that reason. I mean, anytime you could play a guy like Judge in your stack and feel pretty good about the rest of your lineup because you got some cheap bats in your stack, it's nice. So Cincinnati at Toronto, 8.5. Pick 'em game. A lot of those on this slate. Martinez and Rodriguez facing off against each other here. Any interest in Nick Martinez?
I don't think so. Yeah, 20% as far as the strikeouts. He's a strike thrower. I'll give him that. 2.5% as far as walks. So if he's super efficient, if BABIP's on his side, I guess he's got a really good ERA, but he's been pretty lucky. 3.71 SIERA, 3.25 ERA. But the homer and the fly ball stuff, 6.4%. Somehow he's getting away with that in Cincinnati. 0.74 homers per 9. We saw Toronto break out on Tuesday night. I still don't fully buy that lineup. But on first thought, no, I'm not really into it. It's well, if you're running 150, and me, I'm not running 150. You're not running 150. Not a part of my premium stuff. Now the counter argument is, well, he's 6'3", and what do you really need out of a guy at 6'3"? Again, it's hard to see how much we're pinching pennies this far out, but nothing says like I have to roster this guy. But if I'm desperate for salary, I should walk it back and say he's a better play than Cantillo. So if we're scraping the barrel, our current leader in the clubhouse amongst the cheapies is Martinez.
So one of the reasons that his fly ball to home run ratio is, and why he's getting so lucky, is because he's a sinker / cutter guy, and he does a good job not giving up barrels. Basically, I mean, he is a guy that has a 4% barrel rate on the season. He uses those pitches quite a bit, and I mean, it's 45+% with those two pitches. So he does a good job of generating enough non-hard hits where he can keep the ball in the ballpark and they're just not barreling the ball up on him. Like, Nick Martinez is not a good pitcher by any means. He's not a good pitcher. No. He's good at generating softer contact and not giving up a ton of hard contact. So that's why he'll always be one of those guys that his BABIP suggests he's probably getting a little lucky. But I mean, he is getting a little lucky, but it's his pitch mix more than anything else. So yeah, a little bit of luck, but a little bit of not getting hit very hard and not getting barreled. Not playing him. I think we're going to have enough cheap bats on this slate where we're not going to necessarily need cheap pitching, but we'll see how the slate kind of shapes up. Rodriguez on the other side of this game, I mean, there's some strikeouts potentially in this lineup, but just hasn't shown it to us. This is a guy that was once touted pretty hard, and it just has never really showed up for him.
So I just want to follow up your point just real quick as far as Martinez and kind of double down on the skill that he has as far as getting soft contact. He has the lowest hard hit percentage amongst every pitcher on this slate. He has the lowest barrel percentage amongst every single pitcher on this slate. So there is a skill there. 4.3% barrel, 30% hard hit rate, according to FanGraphs. The thing with Ariel Rodriguez, the Ks are okay, almost 24%, but the walks, I can't stand the walks. 12% walks. It's kind of too many. It's kind of too many walks. It's not really for me. He's somewhere in the middle. You can get some Ks against Cincinnati, sure, but I'm not really enthused about it.
All right, let's talk bats. Cincinnati.
You got nothing on them? I'm guessing you're not interested.
No, I don't have any interest. I kind of alluded to that when I brought it to you, but yeah, I mean, I'm not playing Rodriguez today. I like the Reds. I like playing this team. They're fast. They have power. They can get the job done multiple different ways. Probably a 3-man. I don't know if I have full stack Cincinnati today, but I would be building a 3-man around De La Cruz like I always do with Cincinnati.
Yeah, I feel like I don't play De La Cruz enough, and he's obviously great.
You're not playing 10%? What's up with that?
I just don't like. I just tend to not. The parts around him are so. I don't really like the guys around him so much, like Steer and Fraley and France and Marte, Stevenson's. I just don't like the Cincinnati team. Coming into the season, I thought I liked them a lot more, and just not really. India's been kind of disappointing. He's had his moments here and there. But, yeah, I mean, I like Elly De La Cruz as much as the next guy. I'm trying to see now. I wanted to see all the shortstops.
Well, you got to remember, McLean hasn't played this year.
Yeah.
Candelario has been on and off. Nick
Marte
Martini
suspended.
started the season like incredible. And Carson Strand is someone that like has a ton of potential. Like they got the injury bug. Listen, no one can really complain about the injury bug outside of Atlanta, but Cincinnati. I was reading something the other day. I think they have like 6 people on the IL that like could be up with the major league team right now as far as hitters. So I mean, they definitely have the injury bug. But yeah, I mean, I like building around De La Cruz. It'd probably be like De La Cruz, Friedel, and then maybe just whoever's cheap in the lineup around those guys, like a Marte, Fraley type play. But again, I think it's more of a 3-man, and it's more of like Rodriguez has some reverse splits, so I don't mind, even like a Spencer Steer and, chasing that reverse split kind of sniff. But let's talk Toronto bats, Dean, because, I mean, I think Toronto is going to be somewhat popular today. But we just got done talking about like how Nick Martinez does a good job of keeping the ball in the field. Do we play Toronto today? Do we not play Toronto today? I mean, we're obviously, playing some of these cheap bats. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they make stuff work is the thing. Wagner's kid, right? Billy Wagner's kid is super, super cheap. He's still 2.4K. He was batting cleanup on Tuesday. By the way, one other thing I want to say about De La Cruz, like on the slate as a whole, right? And we kind of hinted at this. Bobby Witt is going to be so owned because he's facing Johnny Cueto. And if you can get Ellie De La Cruz, and I'm just pulling this number out of the caboose, but like 1/3 of the ownership, maybe even less in tournaments than Witt, like that's probably what you're supposed. The book says that's what you're supposed to do, even though Witt is facing Cueto. Just wanted to mention that because those are like the 2 real dominant shortstops. You have Betts, but bad matchup. You have Turner in a bad matchup too, but amongst the big boys at shortstop. As far as Toronto, like, we saw Springer bang out a couple homers. He's still pretty cheap. I know on FanDuel, he was like 2.9 on Monday or Tuesday. They tend to not adjust their prices so quickly, kind of like series by series. So he's probably still that cheap. I would imagine a cash game piece, 4.4 on TK. And Vlad, I'm not sure if you've seen it, Stevie, like the splits, pre and post haircut for Vladdy. Ever since he cut his hair, he started smashing baseballs. He started hitting the ball in the air. Something he wasn't doing. It took him a while to figure out.
They hired a new hitting coach. You know that, right? There was a new
somebody told me that, and I didn't.
Yeah,
we kind of
like that's why Springer is starting to hit the ball up in the air. Like none of these guys were hitting the ball up in the air. They hired a new hitting coach, and then they all started hitting the ball up in the air. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
inside in for me.
I was trying to think if their bullpen was beat up, but no, they actually let Spires eat some innings. They kept them out there. I guess I don't know how bad their bullpen is like worked Cincinnati, but they made him go like 5 or so, and he got his face fully punched in. He got shuttle cake, some would say. I think he gave up like 9 or so in less than 5. Eventually, they just gave him a reprieve, but he ate it for a while. So their bullpen isn't fully overworked, but they had to work a little bit on Tuesday nights. I like Toronto a little bit. I don't know. They're not like my favorite just yet. I like kind of working it out and kind of shuffling through the teams as we go along. And they're the stack that kind of makes stuff happen, right? Schneider is 3.2. Alejandro Kirk is 3.4 if you need a cheap catcher. Varsho's pretty cheap. He's got the platoon. So like they're probably the stack I'm going to use to like make other stuff work. That's kind of where I'm at.
All right. Moving on. We got Philadelphia at Atlanta. 8 total, pick'em game, Aaron Nola, Max Fried. I think I'm going to go back to the well on Philadelphia pitcher against Atlanta. And Nola has really been struggling recently. I don't care. I mean, the Atlanta lineup is really watered down with injuries right now. Now Riley out as well. I think I have to play Aaron Nola on this slate and just kind of hope that like he can kind of get it figured out. He has been getting touched up quite a bit recently.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was going to say the same exact thing about the other side of this game. We'll talk about it in a second. But 2 like former aces, I wouldn't say like guys that have been aces at some point in their life, right? And Fried, we'll talk about in a second, that aren't exactly in the best form of late. Nola kind of up and down. I know he's better at home too. People like to talk about that. Historically better at home than on the road. Atlanta can only get so right-handed. I'm sorry, so left-handed. I believe they only had 3 left-handers on Tuesday nights. That'll probably be the same going forward. Harris, Olsen, and Kelnick. They're rolling out Arcia and Merrifield. Loreno was batting second. So, not the best iteration. Of course, Riley got hurt once they got Harris back. You're talking about the bugaboo that Atlanta has this season. Chris Sale, perfectly fine. He's good to go. He'll throw 200 innings. So what do you mean, coach? But everybody else around him is hurt. And Nola against righties this year, a 133 ISO. That's awesome. Strikeout percent jumps to 25.4%. Not elite, but on the season it's 22.5. But again, he should see a pile of righties. So I like Nola. I'm with you. I like Nola, and I'm curious to get your thoughts. I guess you're getting there. The Fried thing is so weird. I don't know if you want to lead right into it, but I just can't believe all the walks of late. That's just not what he does. And 3-3-5-3 walks in his last 4 games. That's just bonkers because he's just a great control pitcher, keeps the ball on the ground, and he just stopped throwing strikes, which is really, really odd. But I don't know if you wanted to segue to Fried, where you're at on it, because I have not had a chance to dig in. Is it is velocity an issue? Do we feel like he's tired? It's just odd to see all these walks for him out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's weird because his whiff rate has gone up and his walks have gone way down. I mean, he's really still just not getting barreled by righties, and he's getting very unlucky. His BABIP over the last 3 starts is 417. So he's just really run into a patch where he's gotten unlucky. I don't know if I want to play him today. Philadelphia does not really strike out a ton against left-handed pitching, and their lefties can hit lefties, and that is something that Fried has struggled with a lot this season in particular. So the command issues and how he's been pitching recently worries me. The pitching on the slate is not great. So if I am playing 20 entry max or something today, maybe I leave Fried in my player pool at 15 to 25%. But overall, I probably don't play Max Fried in a single entry or 3 entry max type build today.
No, and historically, his big edge was he was a guy that could be super efficient, and he can, if his BABIP was on the side, he's not walking anybody. He had the ability, more so than most, to drop a Maddox. He can drop the old CGSO and 97 pitches, that kind of thing. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but we haven't seen that in a while. And I don't know if this is the team necessarily to do it against. And he wasn't the best strikeout guy, but he can eat innings. And again, I don't know what's wrong with him. And I'm not sure if Philadelphia is a team to get right against. But he can. Yeah. It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if he went out there and said, yeah, I'm Max Fried. You remember who I was? And I know I've scuffled of late, but here we go. I'm that same guy. I don't know if he would say that. Just as his actual thoughts would imply that. It'd be weird if he said that.
I mean, my biggest issue is the command, the walks. That's my biggest issue. He's had at least 3 walks in 4 straight starts, and 2 of those starts were against Colorado and Miami, and he struggled against San Francisco. I mean, he's struggling against bad teams, so he's still throwing. He's thrown over 97 pitches in 4 of his last 5 starts, so he's still throwing deep into games. If he can just, kind of fix everything, I'm just not 100% convinced that he's healthy. So that's my biggest thing here is I just don't know if he's 100%, because some of the stats just suggest he's getting unlucky. Is he getting, is he 100%? Any interest in the Philly bats here?
I think it's all tournament stuff, right? I think it's just all tournament stuff. Large field. I would have a hard time, having a Harper a la carte piece. Same deal with Schwarber. Turner's another interesting, pivot at shortstop, Trey Turner. But I feel like it's, again, I don't stack against Max Fried. It's a general rule. Why would you stack against Max Fried? He just does not give up fly balls. He does not give up home runs. 0.74 homers in the season. He give up some, obviously, but he's just rarely a guy that's just going to give up a bunch of homers. And he rarely is a guy that just walks a bunch of people. But if you want to say hey, maybe he's broken or something's wrong with him or he's hurting, he's tired. To me, it's just large field, tournaments, but nobody's going to play Philly in single entry on a fairly small slate, which is worth noting. And ditto with Atlanta, which you're going to get there in a second. It just feels it's a tournament game. For as far as I think both sides, it's kind of a tournament game.
Yeah, so I do not hate taking some shots on Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos. They hit the ball up in the air. They hit the ball hard against left-handed pitching. I don't think Philly is a stack by any means. But I mean, Sosa even as like a pivot off of Wagner. Sosa's another guy that hits left-handed pitching well, and he hits the ball hard. So I think those guys could potentially be interesting. Going to the Atlanta side against Nola, I mean, he really has been struggling, but like Riley's out, Solaire's out, Darno is hurt right now, Albies is out. Like, it's just, you're obviously taking shots on like Matt Olson and Harris and Kelnick because lefties are just absolutely dominating Nola this year, but like you don't feel good about it. Like you really don't. Maybe you do, but I don't because of there's no lineup protection right now.
No, I mean, if you're going to look for a one-off, I think Olson's an interesting one-off. Harris, I like players that are just leading off, table setters, has some power, has some wheels. But I don't really want to actively seek out picking on Nola. If I'm only going to get to Ozuna if I'm running a stack, and I'm not running a stack unless I'm running a bunch of lineups. So very unlikely I get to that. So, yeah, I mean, like it's the old, of course you can do it. You can always play Ozuna in a tournament. You can always break the slate open and bang out 3 homers. Is this the spot he's likely to do it? Well, he's less likely to do it in this spot versus the next pitcher he's facing. So it's probably not for me. If it happens, so be it. Tip the cap and move on.
Yeah, I mean, Ozuna, I'm not ever going to say like a home run is not great, but like at his price now, like home run is not always enough. Is what I was going to say. Like, we talked about Judge, we talked about Witt, who we'll talk about here in a couple games, but I mean, a home run doesn't always kill you at almost 6K. Milwaukee,
I offer you 14 points, no more, no less for Ozuna. You don't take it, right?
Nope.
You get 14 points? Yeah, whatever.
Nope. I mean, listen, I'm never going to sit here and say I wouldn't take a home run, but when you're at that price point, it's really tough. I mean, a home run's always nice, Dean. It's always nice.
It's not end of the world, but like, you're not winning anything if you're getting, obviously the rest of your lineup has to do stuff too, but 14 points at that price. Yeah.
Like, I mean, are you playing Witt, Judge, Ramirez, or are you playing Ozuna? I mean, that's who you're paying up for. Like those 4 guys, like, and I just don't see it being Ozuna over any of those first 3 guys I mentioned. So,
yeah, Bobby Witt.
I mentioned him too. Okay, I played De La Cruz over Ozuna today. Milwaukee at St. Louis, another pick'em game. It's 7.5. It's Tobias Myers, not Harris. Kyle Gibson. Any interest here in Myers?
These guys are kind of the same, right? Myers, 21% as far as strikeouts, 2.8 ERA, but the Sierra says he's been lucky at a 4.11. This is the game, man, and we'll get through it, but this is the game where it feels like nothing gets there. It's like a 4-3. Somebody hits a homer. I don't know who it is. We'll talk about it. The most likely guy is to do it. Myers doesn't get his face punched in, but doesn't do enough to justify a roster spot or is on a winning lineup. It's just all in the middle. So no, I'm not really in on Myers.
Well, nothing to do with it. Yeah,
is that the way you see it?
No, listen. After how bad St. Louis was against Frankie Montas on Tuesday, I might have Myers in a 20-incher max. He has some strikeout upside against righties, and the bottom half of this lineup strikes out a ton. Like Goldschmidt he's striking out at like a career high right now. Contreras striking out a ton. So yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think there's better options today. I know for a fact I'm not playing Kyle Gibson on the other side of this game, though.
No, he's just like, you look up average pitcher, in the dictionary, right? I don't know why you would do that. And his picture would probably be there. Do people still own dictionaries? Is Webster, are they still in business? I don't know. But yeah, what's the upside on Gibson, right? Like, we're not getting excited about that. So no, is he likely to destroy your lineup? Probably not. He's probably like, okay, 15 DK points, but is he the guy that helps you get there, puts you over the top as far as a pitching perspective? Almost definitely not. So no.
Funny you say that about dictionaries. I was like, I told my daughter to go grab it and look up something the other day. She's like, Dad, I could just Google it on my phone. So
there you go.
I mean,
you have one lying around?
Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, I
All
do.
right.
Old school bookshelf. Yeah.
Your daughter's sharp.
Yeah. I mean, she used Google, so there you go. Yeah. I mean, for me, I like Milwaukee. I'm gonna play some bats against Kyle Gibson today. Again, I don't know if I'd full stack them. The lineup is not the best right now, but like Kyle Gibson is like at this point in his career, he's kind of all over the place. We're getting towards the end of the season. He's getting hit harder and harder recently. So I don't mind, Mitchell, Contreras, Adames, Turang, Chirito. Like I think you could take shots on Milwaukee. They're fast too. So they're a team that they can run on Kyle Gibson, which is always great. Played De La Cruz to run on Gibson last time, and the Reds like crushed him, and De La Cruz did absolutely nothing. So that was great. But yeah, I mean, Gibson's a guy that you can steal off of. So I think any of these guys that you want to try to take a stolen base, like Mitchell or Turang, and then, a couple big hits from the other guys around them, I think Milwaukee is a solid secondary stack.
You can power rank, Stevie. You can power rank the next 10 years. Power rank the Jacksons for me. Chourio, Merrill, Holiday. Next 10 years.
Holiday, no doubt.
I think so.
Who are the other two? You said
Merrill and Chourio.
I think it's Merrill.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's really close. I think they're both really solid. Chourio came out of kind of nowhere for me. I didn't really know much about him coming into this season. He kind of came out of nowhere for me. So, what are your thoughts here on the
kids Jackson in 2000? I'm sorry, I'm having random thoughts tonight. Is it just an anomaly, or are there a lot of like 23-year-old kids named Jackson out there?
Any interest in the Milwaukee bats?
If you look at the stats this year as far as Gibson, like I thought in my head he was kind of reverse splitsy or neutral, like historically, but that wasn't the case last year, where he had a 194 ISO against lefties, 356 WOBA, 143 ISO against righties, much better. And same deal this year in the extremes. It's got even more. The gap has widened. 207 ISO versus lefties, 119 ISO versus righties, WOBA up to 355. So you're supposed to roster the lefties against them, and that's the problem. I'm looking for Christian Yelich, and he's not in this lineup. And I don't really like Frelick, Garrett Mitchell. I don't love him either. Pinch hit risk when lefties come in. I don't know how to pick on him. Turang, he's got wheels, but there's very little pop. I don't know how to attack Gibson with Milwaukee, but theoretically I want to with lefties, but their best hitters are all righties, right? Chourio, Contreras, Adames. Not to say you can't, but there's no prime spots.
I like the speed, right? Gibson's a guy that we've run on for years now. So the guys that have the upside with like stolen bases and getting on base and stuff like Mitchell and Turang, those are the guys I want to target. And like I said, I think it's a 3-man. Any interest here in the St. Louis Cardinals?
Not really. No. Like again, there's a couple pieces here and there, but nothing I need. I don't like this game on the whole, just in general. Burleson, when he has the platoon, I'm perfectly fine with him. Kind of annoying. He's a pinch at risk sometimes. Late in the game, we saw it on Tuesday night. He got the hook for, I think, Tommy Pham came in for him when the game was in the line. They brought in the lefty. But you mentioned, Goldie, Arenado, those dudes have seen better days. They're on the 17th hole, give or take. They had a good run, but it's basically over. That's kind of the Cardinals too. Yeah, not really. Nothing. Nothing really that really excites me. Maybe you're seeing something and I'm not.
I will build at least one Cardinal stack today just because of how much I played them on Tuesday.
They owe you?
Oh no, it's more of like I'd be doing the podcast tomorrow night and like the Cardinals score like 10 runs and I'm like, gosh, I'm so mad at myself. Yeah, that's the only reason. Like I watched some of it and like when you're not hitting Frankie Montas, there's something going on. He doesn't miss left-handed bats and he was missing them today.
Pretty cool. You got the Contreras brothers playing against each other. That's a fun little storyline.
Oh, yeah. You're all about those storylines. Detroit at Chicago. Cubs, 7.5 total. Cubs, a 162 favorite. Kenta Maeda, Jameson Taillon. I haven't checked, but almost any time that we get a 7.5 total in Wrigley the night before, we're gonna have wind blowing in at least. Especially like it's not like these two guys are like dominating pitchers. So let's look August 21st.
They're both fly ball pitchers.
Wind blowing in 8 to 10 miles an hour, so not like a huge amount. Yeah. Any interest here in Kenta Maeda?
No. But like he might be saved by the balls dying on the warning track, right? All those fly balls, 1.79 homers per 9. He's not really getting much of a leash. I know he's 5K. It's the only reason why I'm kind of looking at it. 5K in a pitcher. He's been a disaster, one of the worst pitchers in baseball this season. They did let him throw 84 pitches last time, and that might be the most he's thrown. That's the most he's thrown since July 4th. Man, I wanted this game to be a good runner game.
Another pitcher that did Seattle wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Mariners, rough year. With the pitching staff they have, it's so crazy. Seattle should have went all in at the trade deadline and just tried to get as many bats as they possibly could because their pitching staff is just so good. But anyway,
who was out there they didn't get? Like Jazz? Like who could they have made a run for?
I don't even know. I think there's guys that didn't move from Oakland that I'm surprised that didn't get moved. More than anything else, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. I feel like Roker should not be in Oakland. Yeah,
so strange. Yeah,
like even like Butler and Blade. I mean, Oakland, maybe they're trying to build, but yeah. I don't have any interest in Kenta Maeda either. I actually have some interest in the Cubs bats, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Jamison Taillon on the other side of this game. He's not a huge strikeout guy. I could see Taillon having like a good 6 or 7 innings today. I just don't know if he has the upside we're looking for. I mean, Detroit strikes out a ton. They are likely going to have 7 hitters with strikeout rates over 23% in this lineup, but it's just Taillon's not a huge K guy, and we know he's capable of striking out righties a little bit better than lefties, and they're going to have a lot of lefties in this lineup.
20% versus righties, 18.4 against lefties. It is a little bit better. Detroit, their current active roster versus righties, striking out 24.6% of the time. That's 7th most. And he's a fly ball guy, and he might be protected by the wind to some degree. Detroit getting healthier, right? Riley Green is back, Carpenter's back, and they actually have some interesting power guys. Parker Meadows, even Veerling, all those guys have been good against righties this year. Power-wise, even in a small sample, Dylan Dingler, who I really want to be good. I want Dingler to be a guy that sticks around for a while. I want to be saying that dude's name for the next 20 years. It really comes down part to the weather and like how much I need salary. If the wind is really coming in and like, you said, it looks like it's going to be a pitcher's paradise, 7.5 total, the alarm bell is sounding, right? Jamison Taillon, Kenta Maeda, and a 7.5 total. And typically they don't release these lines. Chicago, not a lot of books don't like to commit to it very early the day before. But they're telling us that this is not going to be a good ballpark to hit baseballs over the fence because those are not pitchers. It's been a long time since Kenta Maeda and Jamison Taillon were facing each other, and the total was 7.5. And it's like a neutral ballpark, right? Like both these guys have seen better days. So that's my concern. I wish we had a better ballpark to hit baseballs.
Let's talk about those bats, though. We'll start with the Detroit side, Taillon. I mean, I don't mind getting some bats here. Like, outside of Riley Green, the whole Detroit team is really cheap. Obviously, everyone that listens to the podcast knows that I really like Kerry Carpenter. 8-mile-an-hour wind blowing in is not enough where I'm, like, instantly thrown off by this spot. So, I like Kerry Carpenter. Maybe some Parker Meadows. They have those cheap bats in the lineup right now, too. Is it Jung, who is 2,200, and I thought they had one other cheap bat in the lineup daily right now, but I can't think of who it is. Yeah, he's 3K. I thought they had another guy that was like 2K, though.
Did you see that the Cubs gave Javi Baez like a big billboard? He came back to Chicago, and like they're so happy to be rid of him. I guess it's a revenge game, but I don't know. What a disaster Javi Baez. I don't know how many years are on that contract, but poor Detroit.
Yeah.
Good job, Javi Baez and his agent.
Yeah. Any interest here in the Tigers?
I like 1 through 4. I kind of want to see what the weather's doing, but like in theory, I like Meadows, Green, Bierling, and Carpenter, especially Green and Carpenter. But I don't like facing some daunting wins, and that line is telling me the wins are going to be daunting. 7.5 total for Jameson, Tyon, and Maeda. That's a red flag right there.
Trey Sweeney was the other guy that I was thinking of, chat. Thank you, Michael. He is 2,100 at shortstop, though.
Yeah. Oh, Michael's a Detroit guy, so he's on top of the Tigers.
There you go. All right. Cubs. I like the Cubs today. I think that Maeda is very hittable, and he struggles to both sides of the plate. I love like Michael Busch and Suzuki against pitchers that don't have huge strikeout rates, and then you can get Bellinger, Happ, Paredes. Like, I actually think if the weather, like if it's only like 8 miles an hour blowing in, I might actually stack the Cubs today, and hope that people are just kind of off of this spot because of the 7.5 total. But it's Kenta Maeda. I don't want to overthink this. This guy gives up a ton of hard contact to both sides of the plate.
So, like, instead of the ball going to the 10th row in right field, it goes to the 6th row in right field. But it's
just got to go over. Just got to go.
Yeah, over. It goes in the basket, I guess, if you're in Chicago. Yeah, I would feel like a real donkey if this game is like an offensive explosion, and I didn't play it because of the stupid wind. But I agree with you. Like, if you look at Chicago, there's a lot of power there. They strike out a ton. Happ 27%, Busch 31%, Suzuki at 30%. But when they hit it, the ball goes far. And Maeda's not really missing bats these days. 18% on the season as far as strikeouts. So I don't want this weather to chase me away. But Vegas is telling me it should be. But just a bunch of singles and doubles only get you so far, right? All of a sudden now you might as well stack the Giants. That's what they do. I don't know, man. I want to play it, though. I really want to play it. So I agree with you.
Yeah, it's just I don't want to overthink the wind in this spot. I think the matchup's too good to overthink the wind.
Can I stop the clock for 1 second? Just I know where we got to get going. But Walker Buehler has 2 innings pitched so far tonight. 2 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks. Only 2 earned runs. Only 2 runs. What is going on? Seattle's doing everything they can to not score, and Walker Buehler is doing everything he can to give the Mariners runs. And no, I'm not tilting. Yes, I am tilting. I bet the Mariners over.
Just a little bit. All right, we got LA Angels at Kansas City taking on the Royals. 9.5 total. Royals a 178 favorite. We have Johnny Cueto, that is, against Michael Lorenzen. Kansas City a huge favorite here. Johnny Cueto back in our lives. You said you did some Johnny Cueto digging. I don't have to. He stinks. I'm not playing him today.
Well, I was just thinking about Johnny Cueto. I'm like, what's going on in his life, right? This is a man who's like a former All-Star. He played Major Leagues, 15 years?
Oh, he had a phenomenal career.
Great run. A lot of fun. He's just like some innovative gyrations on the mound. He's kind of tricky. And I'm sure he's probably doing it even more now, as far as just like because the velocity's dead. That's long gone.
But here's my biggest problem about this really quick. Like, this is just something that like overly tilts me. Johnny Cueto is getting to pitch in the majors tomorrow or whenever you're listening to this. And Trevor Bauer is absolutely dominating and not getting
conversation, Stevie.
No, I mean, he was cleared of everything just because like owners don't like the guy because of how different he is and how he sets stuff straight. I mean, listen, I'm not a Trevor Bauer guy in like particular of like liking him or anything, but I think it's crazy that he's not back in the bigs. Like after dominating last year in Japan and then dominating this year in the Mexican Baseball League, like it's crazy to me that a guy like Johnny Cueto is pitching in the majors and like Trevor Bauer's not. That's all I was getting at.
Yeah, I mean, it's not performance based, obviously.
A lot of stuff isn't. I mean, yeah.
The only thing I thought was interesting, like, how much money do you think Cueto made in all his contracts in the majors?
A lot. I mean, I know his last contract was a good amount. It was like $20 million or something. I remember.
So, according to Sportac, he made $165 million. Now you have an agent, I don't know his personal life, if he got divorced or whatever. You got to pay a bunch of taxes to make that much money. But like 165, let's say I'm just saying the dude really, really enjoys pitching. He's 38 years old and he's been pitching for the Salt Lake Bees. He's not making any money doing that, right? Like it's just, and he's just still doing it. And he's not doing it for the money. Now he's just doing it because he loves the game, man. And good for him, keeping the dream alive. I just thought it was wild because like he could just very easily just hang out on his porch or fish or whatever he likes to do. And he's like, no, I'm going to still go out there and keep your own baseballs until somebody tells me to stop doing it. But yeah, I don't know where the Salt Lake Bees play, but maybe the Pacific Coast League or the International League. I'm not sure, but good for him. But yeah, he's we're going to pick on him. After all that, we have to pick on him because what else are you going to, we got Kansas City is the top team on the slate, right?
I don't know. You had me at Salt Lake Bees. I'm trying to look at their hats.
What are you wearing right now? I'm trying to figure what that is.
I have a Magic hat on.
Okay, I thought it was Magic, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, you only rock the minor league baseball stuff. So,
well, my minor league baseball collection of hats is put away right now. I am almost done renovating the office like fully, and I have to get all my stuff back out after that. So I'll be eventually wearing them again. I don't see any cool no cool hats from them. It is like just a bee holding a baseball bat. So yeah. Anyway, listen.
What's your favorite random minor league hat? Do you have one off the dome, off the top of your head? So I've seen some amazing mascot names. I love the mascots in the minor leagues.
I think my favorite one is I have a hat that has like a beer barrel like hat getting smashed like one of those. That's one of my favorites.
Probably a Brewers affiliate team, I would imagine.
No, it wasn't. It was dude, I have so many good hats. I have a jalapeno burger hat. Yeah, I mean
the jumbo shrimp out of Jacksonville. That's probably not.
I don't have any jumbo shrimp hats.
You got to get one of those. That's the Marlins.
I have a bunch of Tortuga hats. So I was okay. We're getting derailed so much here, but they're doing a LA De La Cruz bobblehead night at Daytona. Ooh. Very soon, and I'm out of town traveling for work. So there you go.
Is that the Cincinnati AA team or something?
I think they're single A. Yeah, he came through. All right, Lorenzen. Other side of this game. Any interest in Lorenzen here?
No. I was trying to bet this before the game, and you and me both are on the Hard Rock app. I was looking to see if this game was available, and I guess it's 9.5. That's the total I'm seeing. Yeah, I kind of like the over a 9.5. I think both these pitchers are pretty vulnerable here. So no. Quick answer is no on Lorenzen.
I'm on the other side. Oh, yeah. I'm on the other side of this one. I'm just not going to stop. I mean, I'm just going to keep playing right-handed pitchers against the Angels. Cole Reagans did not do as well as we kind of hoped anyway. Lorenzen's price, his price is, I think, the biggest downer for me. I was kind of hoping he was like $7K here. Maybe I don't play him, but I mean, I love playing pitchers against this team. He doesn't throw 100 pitches either. Typically, I don't know. Maybe I don't play him. Maybe I just play Flaherty and build SP2s, like 100% Flaherty SP2s. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that game, but there's a good chance that I lock Flaherty today, and not even remotely think twice about it. But anyway, bats. Any interest in the Angels bats?
Yeah. That's the thing is I wanna pick on Lorenzen. Ridiculous walk rate, 11.3%, an egregious K rate, 17.7%, getting barreled pretty hard as well. Very lucky. ERA's 3.68, and good for him. But the Sierra's over 5. It's the second biggest Sierra on this slate. We're counting Joey Cantillo in a small sample. But it's all right, now how do we pick on him? You got to roster Angels, and they're terrible. So I don't know. I mean, I like Adele versus lefties. I don't know, man. I just have a hard time. I hand those lineups, Stevie, right? So I have to physically click, Kevin Pillar. I'm never going to click Anthony Rendon. That's done. I retired that. It's never going to happen again. Not intentionally. If you see him in my lineup, it was a misclick. or have like a dummy lineup or something like that. But that's the tricky spot because I think you're supposed to pick on Lorenzen, but the Angels are horrendous. So what do we do?
Kind of the issue. Yeah, I mean, Ohapi at catcher has some upside.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. I mean, I hate playing this team. I think you could fade this team and just hope that Lorenzen scores like 15 fantasy points and be.
You think he gets rostered as like an SP2? I think people are going to go to him just because of the Angels.
Maybe a little bit, but I don't think he's like. I don't think he goes over 10%. I think he might end up in like the 6 to 8% range. Let's talk about the Royals. I mean, top stack on the slate. Like, not thinking twice about it. Playing the Royals today. Yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic spot for them.
Yeah, with the Pasquatch, Vinny Pasquantino. I don't know if you catch many Royals games. I know you watch a lot of your Rays, but whenever Pasquatch homers, isn't that what? Aren't you watching like the Rays at home?
I watch a lot of Red Sox games.
Reds, but I've heard you mention before in the podcast. I listen to the podcast.
Oh, I mean, the Marlins and the Rays are like local. Well, I'll turn them up on the TV all the time. Yeah, I get what you're saying now. Yeah,
I'm blacked out for the Marlins for like 3 months going. They kind of doing me a favor, but I still want to watch the games because I'm watching with their face punch. Then different conversation. But if you watch the Royals at home, they have like an intern like lurking in like a Sasquatch outfit. Whenever he homer, you ever see this before? Whenever he homers, he's kind of lurking like by the waterfalls or something behind a wall. It's spectacular. And he's been on fire of late, and this is an incredible spot. And
wouldn't you hit home runs if you had a guy like on layaway just waiting to come out in a costume? I'd hit home runs for that.
How cool is that? Like, I don't know how they concocted that, but like, what's he doing in between at bats? Like, Pasquantino grounds out, and then the next 45 minutes, like, what's this guy doing? Where does he go? Does he start like passing out sodas or something, or selling some beer? Derek says Harry walks around on the balcony. Okay, so he's walking around the balcony. I guess he's not up. But I didn't realize they named him Harry, but that makes sense, I suppose. Is that a Harry and the Hendersons reference? But yeah, look, Kansas City looks awesome. Pasquantino, one of the best plays in the slate. Of course, the best play, and this is baseball. You can always fade whoever. But Witt looks spectacular. Interesting stuff when it comes to ownership because he's going to be the most popular shortstop. The big spend on this slate. MJ Melendez will have platoon. Whoever makes that KC lineup is going to be interesting. So it's just another guy I can't really click on, Stevie, is like Garrett Hampson because like he stinks and he gets pinch hit for in the 6th inning every game. So whatever. DeYoung's got homer power, so I will on the roster him. But KC looks great, and we're in agreement.
Yeah, and I will say, like, if Blanco draws a start, he is super fast. So, I mean, he's a guy that can steal you 2 bases. All right, moving on. Tampa Bay at Oakland, 7.5 total. Tampa Bay, a 136 favorite. Pepiot and Spence. Any interest here in Pepiot?
Yeah, Pepiot's pretty. I think he's pretty good. Second biggest K rate on the slate, 26.5%. We've yet to get to the biggest. You've already kind of teased it. And of course, the ballpark is pretty spacious. Throwing baseballs here in Oakland. I know Oakland has had their moments this year, but they're still a vulnerable offense to attack. I'm pulling up their numbers here against righties in the season. They have the 4th highest K rate, 25.1%. The WRC plus is a little bit positive, 104, and good for them. But the Ks are certainly interesting, and Pepio's a guy that he can rack them up. I like Pepio. I think he's got a pretty good price. The issue with him sometimes is leash. They did let him go 101 against the Yankees. They almost gave him a quality start, 5 2/3, a couple starts back, but in between 80 pitches, 81, 87, 88, 74. Tampa kind of babies him, right? And it makes sense. They're not going to push him too hard. So I don't know if he's like gonna break the slate, but he should go 5-ish and strike out like 7 or 8. He can. So I do like Pepio. You're talking about running through some SB2s. He's an interesting SB2 for me.
A lot of cheap bats. There's a lot of cheap bats on the slate. So I mean, I don't think you're gonna struggle to get Pepe up. Spence on the other side. Listen, I'll play just about any pitcher against Tampa at this point. Listen, he's not my favorite play by any means, not even close. But watching like Joey Estes pitch well against this team. I don't even know where Estes finished, but like they've increased the pitches for Mitch Spence. I think he's another guy that can get you like 15 plus, and I think 15 at 6,500 is fine. Tampa's awful. They're a really, really bad offense.
27% K rate, active roster versus righties. That's the second highest in all of baseball, just behind Colorado. Traded away some of their key pieces. Lots of Ks there. Spence, like you said, not a guy that's going to typically go very deep. 89, 81, 97, 90. Well, you can get in the mid 80s. The price is pretty good. The ballpark's pretty good. He's not a particularly good pitcher, not a great K pitcher, 18.8%, but you grade on a curve a little bit against Tampa. I think he's in the mix as far as like a cheap SP2, just because of the ballpark and more importantly, Tampa and their tendency to swing and miss.
Tampa bats. I mean, you could always play Brandon Lau, but outside of that, I mean, I don't know if this is a spot I would play a lot.
I don't like. I don't really like it. I would have to run a certain number of lineups to get there. There's no priorities. I don't mind Lau as a one-off, like you said, but Morel theoretically, right, has some power when he gets a hold of it when he's not striking out. But I just don't like this Tampa lineup, and I don't like this ballpark. I do like picking on Spence to some degree, but he's been a ground ball guy, done a really good job keeping them on the ground. Giving a 1.24 homers on the season, which isn't great, isn't terrible, but perfectly average pitcher that Tampa, like you said, a lot of Ks. The lineup is not very imposing. Do we really see Tampa putting up like a 10 spot here?
Nope.
No, it's just not happening.
Oh man, tough team to even think about playing. Oakland bats. Any interest in the Oakland bats here?
Just filler stuff. I mean, you mentioned Rooker. Rooker's been awesome. 252 ISO, almost a 400 WOBA. Strikes out a ton, 30%. But when he's hitting the ball hard. Leday, another guy. He's been pretty good. And that trade's worked out for him. A couple of years ago, Leday was traded for AJ Puck in like a 1v1 deal. Butler's having kind of a breakout season, but again, the ballpark holds him back. I don't mind Bangaliers, but no priorities. I think Pepio's a good pitcher, top 4 pitcher on this slate, second biggest K rate. So, and the ballpark stinks. So not really, if you want to play some Oakland, have at it. If you want to one-off somebody in Oakland, you can do it. We know the guys to do it with, but overall, no for me.
Pass. Yeah, I think I'm going to pass on Oakland today too. Seattle at LA taking on the Dodgers. 7.5 total. Dodgers are 178 favorite. Logan Gilbert, Jack Flaherty. Gilbert's a good pitcher. I don't like the spot for him. This is one of the toughest matchups in baseball, and they're getting healthy. This isn't the spot I want to play him.
That is that's where I'm at too. You're going to get Gilbert at, like, I don't want to say no ownership, but probably basically no ownership. He's a really good pitcher to get when he's going to be unowned. But, the Dodgers are getting healthy. Muncy's back. Freeman's playing with that finger. Ohtani from the left-hand side. Betts, of course, is spectacular. I mean, look, I don't know how many lineups I have to make, 10, 15, until I say, all right, screw it. Let's get a Gilbert lineup. But it's not my first 5 or 10. If you want to run like a little game stack and hope for like a 0-0 score to the 7th, we'll talk about the other pitcher in a second. He's good. Gilbert's a really, really good pitcher. But I don't know if I want to pick on the Dodgers. Even Gavin Lux has been good of late. Shout out to him, because I spoke poorly about him earlier in the season, but I think he's making me look dumb now. But not Chris Taylor. Is he still on the team, Chris Taylor? I can't believe that Chris Taylor might still be in this team. I know they sent Pius.
I think he's on the IL, right?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, because they called the Badman. Obviously somebody else came back for him too. Muncy came back, so he had to make a couple moves. Miller's shutting him down now for what it's worth. But yeah, I like Gilbert, but he's not a priority. But he's an interesting, if he's like a 5% owned guy, you know what I mean? Like, it's not hard to get over that if you're running 150.
All right. Bats.
You're gonna get
we kind of skip past Flaherty. Like,
oh yeah,
don't overthink it. I mean, he is the top pitcher on the slate by a large margin for me.
So biggest K rate on the slate for facing righties, active roster, Seattle Mariners. This is not breaking news. They strike out a ton, 27.4%. The biggest K rate on this slate by far is Jack Flaherty, 32.2%. He's had a spectacular bounce back season. Great acquisition for LA down the stretch. He's got a 3.06 ERA, and the Sierra says he's been unlucky. 2.73 Sierra. The home and the fly balls over 17%. He's been spectacular, and if he gets blown up, so be it. Turn the page. But you said it before, you might just lock button Flaherty.
Yeah.
And you run 3 main or 20. What are you doing these days? Or it depends on the day.
I usually make 3 and like 1 main, 3 entry, and then 20 entry max if I'm having some fun. Like days that I'm doing a lot of like content, I'll usually run like a 20 entry max to have some fun. Or if I have extra time, it's a time thing for me more than anything else. But dad life.
Yeah, I mean, Flaherty looks spectacular. Goofy baseball variants can happen always. These things do. You really can't see it coming. Some BABIP, whatever. But I will be whatever. If Flaherty's 40% owned or 50% owned or 60% owned, I'll be over the field, whatever that number is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not overthinking this spot. Any interest in the Seattle bats in this one?
No, outside of contrarian tournament stuff, and that's like a real leverage play, and it probably wouldn't be a full stack, but no is the short answer. But you can always counter strike with big dumper, Kyle Raleigh, that kind of thing. But I don't see myself doing it. I don't make enough lives to get there.
Counter strike is fun game. Dodgers side of this game, Gilbert recently over his last 30 days, 250 ISO, 400 WOBA against left-handed hitters. So I think if you want to take shots on a low-owned Ohtani or Freeman, like they're going to be really low-owned on a small slate. So I don't necessarily, and Max Muncy. I mean, I don't hate chasing a left-handed home run here for the Dodgers.
I don't either. I'm not a big weight on ownership guy, and I'm not obsessed with ownership as much as others. And again, I'm playing in contests where I'm trying to beat 300 people, 400 people, 500 people, that kind of thing. Not 30,000. So that stuff matters a little bit more there. And I kind of understand people play their cash game or their cash plus, and the good stuff, the ownership stuff rises incredibly. So it's not that hard to get different off whatever the chalk is. But I'm really curious to see where stuff lands, because I do think you can get the Dodgers kind of unowned on this slate, which is interesting. But again, I don't really actually want to pick on Gilbert. But as a one-off, sure. Do we expect him to have a clean sheet? Probably not. But that's the same deal you're talking about with the dude for the Braves. You get a solo homer out of Ohtani, 14 points, 18.7 on FanDuel. Is that enough? You need more, right? You need an onslaught to some extent. He'll throw in a couple stolen bases too sometimes, but yeah, it's something you can always consider in tournaments. And I would never besmirch somebody who says, "Hey, I'm going to play today. I'm going to spend my funds on Shohei Ohtani, potential 50-50 man Shohei Ohtani. He's right there as far as the pace. He's really, really close to 50-50, which is unprecedented. But it's not my first thought on this slate.
All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here for this Wednesday. What's up, YouTube? You guys, we like having you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. All righty, under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do you got?
Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. So we're talking about Gibson, Lorenzen, Rodriguez, Spence, Martinez, Cueto, Cantillo, Maeda. Under 8K. So I think the answer's got to be, oh boy, is it Michael? Oh, you know what? It might be Y-Rod. Is it Y? I think it's Y-Rod. I'll take Y-Rod. Yariel.
All right. I'm gonna go Mitch Spence. Tampa stinks. Over 8K to score under 15. Who is your bust today?
I thought you were going to take Lorenzen there, by the way, against the Angels.
Mm.
Over 8K, who's going to bust? So Flaherty, Gilbert, Nola, Cortez, Fried. Oh, Cortez. I'll take Cortez.
I am going to continue to say that something's broken and say Max Fried struggles today.
Okay.
Over 4,000 to hit a home run. Who's going yard today?
When we talked about the pass squats, right? Saying Witt is like, come on, what's the point of that? Why do you even have me on the podcast if I'm going to say Witt? Give me the pass squatch, Vinny Pasquantino.
I like it. Listen, I felt the same way about Judge. Like I was sitting here going, "Oh, I'll say Aaron Judge," and I'm like, I feel like that's really kind of cheating. So I wanted to kind of go off the board today and say Cody Bellinger hits a home run.
I like it.
He hasn't done many of those this year. So under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bet that you like today?
Ooh, all right. Can I give you 1 hit, but it's a homer?
No, you got to get 2 hits. Hopefully it's a 2 home run game.
I was gonna say MJ Melendez. He's not gonna get 2 hits, but he's gonna hit a home run.
I mean, the chat always likes a home run under 4K. So if you don't get the second hit, that's okay. Typically,
trying to think who else it would be. Kind of scrolling through. I should have been prepared for this. No, I'm gonna stick with MJ Melendez.
All right, I'll take the layup. Give me Wagner. Too cheap.
Yeah.
Stack to score 6 or more runs. Who's getting the job done today?
Oh God. I mean, again, Kansas City is like the easy answer, and I don't want to say the easy answer, but that's kind of like what I think. Yankees? Can I say Yankees?
Yep, you can for sure.
I'll say Yankees.
I mean, I'll say Kansas City.
Yeah.
I think Toronto is another one that has the potential to do it today. Nick Martinez. I mean, if you could square up a couple balls on Nick Martinez, you can get him out of there pretty quick. All right, betting portion of the show. Any player props or pick 'em plays that you like or that you'll be looking for potentially? You and I both in the old fashioned, Florida where we have Hard Rock. They don't typically give us player props night before, but anything jumping off the page that you like when would be betting?
I wanted to bet Kansas City over. I think it was 9.5, which is a pretty big number. And that you're also kind of relying on the Angels to score. They should scrap a couple runs off Lorenzen, in theory. But I kind of like that game over 9.5, which I think we can get that. You're asking about player props, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
I don't think I have one. Give me a second, maybe. I'll give like a quick. Like I'm on the Hard Rock right now looking. I know I can go to Scores and Odds and try to find something, but
there's not a ton out right now.
Yeah.
There's not a lot up in general. So, I mean, that definitely doesn't help. So there's a couple props up for the Cincinnati game, but I mean, we really don't love that. Yeah, nothing jumping off.
DJ Stoner in chat says Dean does not come prepared. I was digging into Johnny Cueto and his numbers at the Salt Lake Bees. I was looking at Joey Cantillo and his minor league numbers. I apologize I do not have a player prop for you, but again, there's not really much at this hour, unfortunately. I'll try to do better next time, but just the record time, it's just how it works.
Well, and books won't put up questionable pitchers. Like right now, Kenta Maeda is not listed, so Detroit doesn't have lines up. Cantillo is not listed, so Yankees lines are not up. So there's just not a lot available sometimes when we do the podcast, and tonight seems to be like one of those nights where there's just not a lot available. So, you said any bets that you like outside of props here?
All right, let's see. Pulling up. Do we have the line for tomorrow just yet? Or no? We don't have anything in the Hard Rock. Let's find them someplace else. Not even the standard lines are posted, as far as I can tell. Well, here we go. We got some actually. 9.5 is plus 100 at Angels and Royals. What's first 5? Or what's let's see. Runs for the Angels first 5. Over 2.5 first 5 minus 130. Do we want to lay that?
I mean, I'll be honest. In my 3-pick parlay, I have the Royals over 4.5 runs. So I like that
for the game. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's minus 140 on the Hard Rock, but it's in a 3-pick parlay, so it comes out to plus 430. So
I know you hit yours the other night. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, 2 for our last 4. I had to reply to the person that told me I was washed and that I miss Mondays. So had to reply to that person because I did not miss Mondays. I got Mondays right. Missed Tuesdays. It wasn't even close. Again, I was very high on St. Louis and they didn't do their thing. So 3-pick parlay for the morning grind today. Royals over 4.5 runs. Rays and Oakland Athletics under 7.5, and Dodgers outright. And it is currently plus 432 on the Hard Rock app. And I think I got Davis Martin strikeout prop at least, so that's good. But plus 432 for this one today, and that's the 3-pick parlay for Wednesday. Dean, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I do not believe so. I'm still just kind of tilting the Mariners, and I cannot believe, speaking of washed, I cannot believe Walker Buehler is getting away with his performance, only giving up 3 runs, 7 hits, 3 walks in 3 innings. How and 1 strikeout. I'm tilting my face off over here. We have the Mariners over 2.5, over 3.5. We have a bunch of overs on them still, some alt stuff, so still some time to get there, but people don't care. And that's kind of where my brain is. But I'll be back tomorrow on the Grinders Live, 5 o'clock, talking about this slate all the way up to first pitch, which I believe. Actually, no, it's 7 o'clock, right? Yeah, there's some 6:40 games, but DK has the cutoff to 6:40 games. Come over to this, of course, the Morning Grind channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. So we hit the goal yet? Have we hit 2,000 subscribers, Stevie? And if not, why not? What is going on with these people?
I know what's going on.
Just subscribe. What's the problem?
We're gonna get out of here. I hope everyone has a fantastic Wednesday. We're back Thursday talking baseball. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you.